Hi, everyone, and welcome to Moon Days. Toothless is with us today. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually redoing this recording and one more of this four-part series. So the two of these videos were taken a long time ago, and then this one is a while after that. But I wanted to do a little overview of what we're going to be going into. But before we do that, let's just take a moment to close our eyes and kind of come together into a quiet, reflective space just to set the intention. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take some deep breaths in and out. And then repeat after me. I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto thee. I know I am. I know I am. I am. And may this training and my words, my presence, and everyone who's here, may we all request that this space and this time together be an absolute surrender to the divine. That whatever is shared today and whatever comes through is here to continue to bring the highest divine energies of love and light, heavenly light, onto this planet. May we be embodiments of this light. May we represent this light on this planet. May our word, our bodies, our thoughts all be in this devotional, humble surrender. And so it is. Amen. Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome. As I was re-listening to the first two recordings that I did, I decided to do this video as the very first video, just to kind of give a little bit more of an intro into what this training is all about. So you might hear some things repeated over the next few calls, but I was re-listening and I remember feeling really all over the place when I was doing those trainings, and I don't know why. It's just there's a lot of information, but it's kind of like lots of little facts and lots of little thoughts, and it's a little bit challenging to organize and piece it all together. So I'm hoping that I'm going to organize the information a little bit better in this first call, and then you guys will be prepped for the next ones that are a little bit more all over the place. But there is so much richness in what we're covering in this training, Moon Days. Um, this training is designed to help you have a new relationship with your moon cycle. with your monthly menstruation and all of the 4 components of the 4 weeks of every month that are involved in the different energies that our bodies go through, that our spirits go through in a month's time. The reason that I wanted to do a training about this is it's been such a big, important part of my spiritual journey, as well as claiming of health. And I really feel like health is an important platform, obviously, for our spiritual journey, because if we're not feeling good, if we're, absolutely not in our best, we're not at our best. It's harder to feel connected spiritually. There's big distractions of health. So this is a really important topic to bring to the table. So inside of the 4 weeks of each month, we will experience different energies. And each of these videos is going to be going into depth of one of those weeks. And we're also connecting those weeks to the greater cycles of our Earth, our planet, and how those cycles can also be found in a single day, as well as a single week, or beyond a month, perhaps a season, and then as well as a season, a whole year. So we go through these cycles in more than just the way of our moon cycle. And so really getting to know each week is such a powerful way to do that. And I also want to say, what you hear me saying in this training is what I found is that I've been working with my cycle for like 5, 6, 7 years. And it's still a work in progress for me to get to know it and get to know what to expect. But just by paying attention to it, even a little bit more than you might be already, will help to begin that process of, having this new knowledge in your own life about your body and your rhythms. And that over time is incredibly invaluable. I've been really reflecting on just the difference that small little tiny changes can make over time. And often those are the ones that are also the most sustainable. They're the changes that we make in our lives that stick. So I talk in then I believe it's the next video about how I actually begin my cycle at the first week after bleeding. And the reason I do that is because it's really the beginning, like in my mind, that's how I see our cycle. That's the beginning of a new phase, a new patterning. For me, it makes sense because it's like, well, one really, really big thing that I'll just share at the beginning is a powerful way to look at your cycle. And I talk about this in the following videos as well, but is to see it as there's 2 weeks of every month that, just like the moon is going from, it's waxing. So it's building energy, it's taking on more light, it's taking on more energy. And then there's 2 weeks of every month where it hits that max potential and that max fullness. And then it starts to eliminate, clear, cleanse, empty itself, and that light begins to go away, the energy begins to fade, there's less energy available. And then that's at the very, when we actually start our cycle, we're at that phase of low energy. We're at the phase of cleansing. So just an overall overview right now. The first week after our bleed is the beginning of that building stage. And then the second week is still, it's kind of like we've built up all the walls, but we're at this heightened potential. It's the full moon time. And then that full moon shifts and begins to wane. And then we move into that full new moon space. And the first 2 weeks are about us. We're really taking in energy at that time through nutrients, and we're always taking in through nutrients, but really, really important, like the nutrients that we're having at that time in the month, building up our uterine lining, building up the energy in our bodies, the energies we consume from the world around us. So the people that show up in our lives really, really matter. And I go into this a lot in the next video. But the people in our lives really matter, and what we're doing, everything we're taking in, consuming, and digesting in those first 2 weeks. And then we kind of hit this place of like, at the end of those 2 weeks, we're at our max. And the only thing that's left to do is to turn around and to begin the cleansing process. So what I wanted to do today is talk a bit about to really focus on the menstrual cycle, even though I want you to like see that we're on a medical level. People say your cycle starts on the first day of your period, but spiritually, I think for me, it begins the new cycle, the new seasons begin at the end of the bleed as I move into the luteal phase, I believe it's called. So I'm forgetting exactly. Actually, I should have that written down, but you guys can look it up what the medical terms are. I know I sometimes get them mixed up. So anyway, but I also wanted to, along with going deep into what to focus on during the week of our cycle, of our actual bleeding and menstruation, I wanted to kind of go through a fun little overview of some of the practices that we can cycle throughout each of the 4 weeks, both through self-care as well as energy healing that we can receive, or external kind of like self-care that we can receive through massage and acupuncture, those kinds of things, and where I would place those practices in the cycle of a month, and why. So I think that'll help you to really get to know, the energies of each week. Okay. So I'll talk more deeply into this in call number 4, but the week before we bleed, the PMS week, or the fire walk, or the fire dance, as my boyfriend calls it, is a time where we've turned around. We're no longer at the full moon, and we're moving toward the waning. We're moving into that waning moon into the new moon. The first half of that first week of that 2-week period, the classic PMS week, when this shifted for me, everything changed. So I used to be very resistant to that week, but I started to see it as a time where the energy I just taken in was now moving out of me. I was like, I can't take in any more energy. I've shifted, and my phase now is to detox, to let go, to clear. But it's an emotional purging and an energetic purging, mental purging, psychological purging, more than it is the physical purging. Your body's preparing to physically purge, but it's in an emotional clearing. So there is purging happening, but it's not through the bleeding yet. It's through energy. And that's what we can experience through our heightened sensitivity and the emotionality, and lots of tears, lots of frustration, that pent up energy. It's everything coming to the surface that's been kind of making it's clear that it's no longer needed in our system. Perhaps the good thing that happened prior in the month, kind of helped to bring up things that are no longer needed. That work we do to release, to say, this is what I want to bring into my life. And sometimes in order to bring something into our life, some things have to go. And so this week assists us and aids us in letting go of those spiritual patterns, energetic patterns. So it's really powerful to, rather than demonize this week, see it as an incredible opportunity to notice what's being purged emotionally and spiritually and energetically, to really become aware of your thoughts, because often the not good thoughts are the things that your body's trying to eliminate. And then once that process finishes, and sometimes we'll have a longer PMS period than just a week even, because our body is like, it's doing work. At least that's the way I see it. My boyfriend actually, when we first started dating, I had him read a book about the different cycles, or the different weeks in every month. and I share that book later in this. And he read the part that's for men, and what the book suggests is that your partner actually track your cycle through like a magnet on the fridge. He chose to use these little tiles of poker chips with different colors, and he rotates it each week. So he knows when I'm on my fire walk. He knows when I'm on my moon. He knows what's coming, and he knows what to expect in many ways. And so we've watched these different cycles together. We've made it through many fire walks at this point, but we've definitely our most challenging moments have happened during fire walk week. He calls it fire dance because we're both dancers and that's how we met. But anyway, it's a really powerful way to just become like doing this process with your partner is really, really, really powerful. And you'll begin to notice the trends of what to expect. And so that's what we're going to go into today a little bit. As you move through the energetic purge and you hit this week of actual physical purging through the blood and the shedding of the lining of our uterus, what happens is we move, and you guys have all experienced this, that tension, that pent up energy of just like, it's all at the surface. It's ready to clear. It's ready to release. Often we'll have a big cry and just let it out all at once or multiple times. And then our moon will start and our flow will start. It's amazing how that happens. It's so crazy. And then that's like that physical clearing time. The energetics of this week, compared especially to the one before, which is a little bit more like independent, resistant, discerning, maybe even a little defensive, hypersensitive, just it's our bodies are on a high alert because we are not meant to take in more energy. And they're preparing for this time of deep vulnerability. So we can't take in any more energy right now. We cannot. Don't give me more. And that's like that irritability of that PMS time is like, no, because there's a purpose to that. We're preparing to just be able to completely let go. So the energetics of this week are quiet, soft. These are also feminine frequencies: gentle, sweet, vulnerable, hidden, protected. We're often really snuggly at this time and craving the feeling of being held, craving the feeling of being protected, wanting that closeness. And if we have, if you're in a relationship, it's a really special time with your partner. It's one of my favorite times with him because I just crave to be in his arms so almost more than any other time, in a different way, in this month, because it's like I'm so gentle, so soft, so vulnerable. I don't have any combativeness in me. It's a week that teaches us that inherent, that vulnerable, maiden like feminine energy, where it kind of teaches you what the lean back energy is. And something that I really let imprint in my body every time I hit my moon, my bleed time, is, wow, what does it feel like to just be so utterly like, it's almost like there's just no energy to give out. All the energy is being reserved for you. And so there's not a ton of engagement in the outer world or into relationships. It's really all about you at that time. And that's for a reason. So if people are showing up in your life, it's so passive, and it's like people can do what they do, but you're taking care of yourself. And that's a really beautiful energy to learn, because especially in relationship, when we're kind of struggling with our dynamics with masculine, it can be really easy to lean in and push things in. And not that that's bad. There's times that we need to, but this is a week where we inherently don't have the bandwidth to lean in. So we're fully leaned out and fully just like passive and relaxed, because that's what we have to do. That's what our bodies are doing. It's not a building time. It's not a stretching. It's just it's a being time. And we just have to wait it out and watch it and feel it and be with our body at that time. That's what we have the ability to do. So that gets mirrored in our energy to the outer world. So it's a really powerful time to just notice what that that form of our femininity, how it's expressed each month, through that leaning back, watching reservation and just passivity. It's like, if people if your partner wants to show up in your life, it's like, it's really under your terms at this time if you're connected to yourself, because you have to be that connected to your body. And that, it's like, and I don't mean under your terms, it's just a really powerful time for you to like remember that you have your own back. And if people want to show up in your life at that time, they get to show up in a way that's supportive to you. You have a different kind of tolerance at this time. I wrote different kind of tolerance. Different kind of intolerance. That's what I meant. It's not the intolerance that shows up in the PMS week where we're like emotionally irritable and like can snap and kind of be more combative. It's an intolerance where when something's not quite working, or, we're trying to stay in alignment, it literally it's through the process of, it's like a disengagement, and like it's just, again, it's a leaning back. And I just want you to start to notice that energy compared to the week before and the other weeks as well, because all of the weeks of our cycle teach us about different aspects of our femininity, which is a big theme in Elevated Woman, especially with the different archetypes that we do a lot of work with. And so yeah, it's a great time to be taken care of, and to be supported. I also wrote like different ways of kind of cooking and showing up for yourself. So this is a great week for you to actually, the week before, to perhaps meal prep, make some soups in advance, freeze the soups in the fridge. The week before is a good time to push, to get projects finished, to clean the house, because you need to kind of get that energy out anyway. And so it's a really good time to push. And the more I kind of push out my energy that week before I start my moon, I did a lot of that this weekend, and I'm on my moon right now. So my week before my moon started was kind of an intense fire walk this week. There's a lot that was coming up and moving, and it took a long time for my period to start. But I did get a lot done, in the sense of I cleaned my house really well. I made a bunch of food and meal prepped. I don't always meal prep. I don't really like that term, but I finished a ton of projects with work, and it's really interesting because it's like, not only do I get to totally relax, nothing on my mind to do while I'm on my moon, but as I start the next new cycle next week, the beginning of this new phase, and it's almost like I get to really enjoy the process of building, because there's nothing left over from the old cycle. And so that's how we can really work with our moon cycle to kind of become a hack in our life. So yeah, in terms of food this week, really nourishing foods. This is a great time to be fed. So I'm going to kind of go through the different weeks in terms of food for fun. So this is a week for you to be fed healthy, homemade, nutrient rich, nourishing foods, warm foods. It's a great week to eat foods you've already prepared, like I said, or to be supported by, people cooking you meals. Not a great time to go grocery shopping and be cooking and on your feet and just like having to do a bunch of stuff, cooking and cleaning. I avoid that a lot. So kind of having yourself prep for that. For the next week, I wrote, this is a building stage, the beginning of the cycle. So when you stop your period, you start the new cycle over. Cooking at home, perhaps freezing foods, planning ahead, meal prepping if you meal prep. I just make a lot. I love soup. So, just making, that's a building phase. So you have your energy starts to come back. So it matches the energy to kind of like be gathering ingredients, be gathering different materials, and to be building a store of food for the following weeks. Week 3, which is what we're going to be talking about in our live call tomorrow, even though we're skipping a week. So it's kind of weird, but that's the week of our ovulation. And I wrote eating out. So that's a week of being out and about, eating out, like whining, dining, and being seen, being out in the physical world, taking in yummy foods and the richness. You kind of built some stuff out. So that's a week to eat out. And then the firewalk week, I wrote eat whatever you want. unhealthy week if needed, also a time to meal prep for your cycle. So um there's, as we have all experienced, we also often have cravings during that fire walk week. And I've recently been thinking about the symbolism of that for me. I think there's a couple things. It's like everything gets sobered up and clear during the fire walk. We get to know things about our life if we listen during that week more than the other week. So I was like, I wonder if like this week or this last time I craved so much fat more than I normally do. Often I'll crave sugar. This time I craved fat. And I was reading about how sometimes if you crave fat, it's you're low in one of the hormones. And if you crave sugar, you're low in another one. But regardless of that, I'm like, you know, a lot of things end up coming to a head that week. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is telling me that I haven't gotten enough fat through the rest of the month. And so we lose a lot of our self-control during that week, and our body takes over for a reason. Things are purged out, whether we like it or not. We don't have control of our emotions. We don't have control over what we put in our mouth often. But if, again, the hack, the mental shift is to not be in resistance to any single part of the cycle, but to get behind it and to be curious about it and ask questions of like, okay, what is this? What is the reason for this? Um, okay, so I'm going to go into some of the self-care or what to do during this week of menstruation, um, through exercise as well as just the way to be. So it's really important to take a lot of rest. I wrote rest, hide, relax, reset, purge. So that's kind of the energetics of what to be doing, or like what I find myself doing. I really, really try, especially the day two, like I'll start my moon, and then like it's really the second day that it sets in. And that's a day I really try to not have anything on my schedule or very little on my schedule. I can usually handle one hard thing on that day. And I know some of us have work, but it's even worth taking work off for that day. And then, same thing, like for a while, I would really, my cycle was more like very tiny bit on the first day, and then the most on the second day, and then it would really taper off pretty quickly for day 3 and 4. But it recently shifted to like very little on the first day, and then more on the second day, obviously, and then just a little less on the third day. So notice that your cycle will change. Obviously, our cycles change over time. And so we can adjust energetically in relationship to those shifts. And also get curious about it. But so I really try to rest. The more I'm bleeding, the more I'm trying to rest. It takes energy. We're just we're just tired in general. But yeah, I worked with this woman. I did an interview with her. I'll try to link it actually to this. Suzanne Mathis McQueen, and she has a book called 4 Seasons, 4 Weeks. It's really powerful if you like this training and you want to go deeper into this stuff. I highly recommend that book. But when I did an interview with her, she talked so much about the importance of having rest during our cycle. If we don't rest during our actual bleed time, we are exhausted for the rest of the month. And so that was one of the first things I started to change in my life, is really resting during that time and not pushing at all. And it's amazing how much closer it connects us to our whole cycle in general when we just implement that one thing. For exercise, I wrote minimal, if any, restorative yoga, potentially yin yoga, and that's maybe a gentle walk. That's pretty much all I do. I really do not exercise when I'm on my moon personally. I don't have the energy for it, and it doesn't feel like my body wants to do it, so I don't push my body to do it. Sometimes after I've been on like kind of the third day of my cycle, I'll feel that energy beginning to come back. I remember why I started talking about my boyfriend. So as I said, he tracks my cycle, which is really amazing. And he said to me, he was like, I think that women start their moon before they start their moon. Like even before you begin your actual menstruation, I notice you shift into a into your moon time. Like he doesn't use these words exactly, but I'm translating. But he's like, I feel you shift into that, like kind of snuggly, quiet, soft you version of you. And like I think that it starts before, sometimes the bleed. And it was like, wow, that's so amazing. And it's so true. Because we actually ovulate, and then there's more than 1 week before, like, of infertility than when our period starts. It's like 10 days of like post ovulation and the days that are following that are like fertile. And then it's like 10 days and then our cycle starts. At least that's how my cycle is. So that's kind of a long fire walk. And I was like, oh, I don't like this. Cause I mean, I do try to embrace my fire walk. It's still hard. But that changed something for me too when I started to just become aware of, oh, maybe my moon's actually started now. And usually what shifts for me is like I stop having energy, even if I haven't started to bleed yet. I stop having energy, and I just have to kind of like lay down and lay low, more so than like the rest of the time in that fire walk week. Um, and so I thought that was really beautiful that he noticed that. I'm like, I've never even noticed that. And I wanted to share that with you. In terms of self-care, some of the things that are powerful to do this week are dry brushing, gua sha, um, getting a facial, and I wrote castor oil pack, but only at the very end of your cycle, not during the heaviest parts, not even right before. It's a little bit intense, but at the very end, like at the very, very, very end of your bleeding cycle, I think castor oil pack is fine, or just at least a heating pack you can do at any time. Castor oil is a little bit intense. And I wrote some other details that I want to share with you on this. Yeah, so dry brushing. The reason dry brushing is powerful is it's moving the lymph fluids. And when you're bleeding, your body's working with fluids. I believe it's like a kapha part of your cycle. It's Ayurvedic, but there's water involved, there's fluids involved, and lymph is fluid. Anything that's kind of getting your circulation moving is really powerful, and helping with the detox process, but in a gentle way, where you're not like forcing yourself to sit in a sauna and do really intense things on your body, but just gentle things to keep the movement flowing, especially because like for that time, it's a little bit of a stagnant physical time for me, at least. I really rest and I'm horizontal often. So self-care, dry brushing and gua sha, again, it's like more facial massage, just gentle self-care things that are getting those fluids moving, and detoxing from your body. You can also do oil massage at this time, Abhyanga oil massage, and taking a nice gentle bath probably toward the end of your cycle. And like, I don't know, when I'm on my moon itself, I try to think more nourishing rather than detoxing, because there's a lot of detox actually happening. So if you overdo, it's very possible and easy to overdo detox. So instead of like detox tea this week, I would do a nourishing tea, a cycle supporting mineral rich tea. Again, cycle supporting mineral rich foods, warming, gentle, building, because you're sloughing, but anyway, so it's kind of complicated, but yeah, those are the self-care actions I would take. This is also the time where you are at that final waning of the moon. So it's moved from, I forget all the little words, but it's moved from that. It's moved from the waning half moon to the waning crescent moon, and it's going to a point of darkness and stillness. And if we match up our cycle exactly with the moon itself, we would actually start our cycle. I often start my cycle on the new moon or around it, but it doesn't really matter. Just interesting to notice. But metaphysically, if we're working with the moon cycle exactly, we would be actually starting our moon cycle, like 5, 6, 7 days before the new moon, because it's at that very moment where we finish bleeding, where we're done with the shedding, we're done with our moon, that's when like that dark point hits, that dark moment. I talked about this in another video, but like the very bottom of the breath. Um, and in that video, it's the next one. We talked about this more, but it's like the beginning of the new breath. But this moment at the end of your cycle is the complete exhale right before the new, entirely new cycle begins. So just kind of metaphysically, you can touch into and work with that final last quarter of the moon cycle, from the waning half moon all the way to that crescent moon to the new moon. And it's dark. It goes into hiding. It's not seen. These are all really good things to do when you're on your moon. It's not seen, it's hidden. And it is a time of reflection and quiet. It's like, if ideally we've purged at that point everything that's not worked from the past, we've completed all the cycles. And this is actually something I'm really noticing at this point in my life. Before, I really would be kind of taking some stuff from the old cycles and moving it to the next. And I want to say this is one of the first times I felt like I'm looking back, and there's a couple things I'm still emotionally working through, um, from like the old cycles. But it's been a really interesting moon because this time I'm very like aware of what's complete. And it's really, really a new beginning where I'm not taking a ton forward. I'm very clear on what I'm going to be building as well as what I'm going to be getting rid of in this next cycle. I already know what I'm going to be getting rid of. But it's just a good time to be reflective. And yeah, but saying it's dark and reflective, and we don't always crave to be out in the light during this time, and that's good. Last thing on this part before I go into a fun little thing I want to do with you guys is, so this is also a really good time to express our vulnerabilities if you have a partner in a raw, authentic, sweet, and connected way. I find that I don't, like I said earlier, I do not have any combativeness in me during this time. And so it's kind of a really interesting time to express feelings, because I notice I just so naturally express myself in like a sweet, gentle, tender way, because that's what's going on in my body. And I have no other energy to give other than that. So it can be, in terms of communicating with your partner, that's a great way to do that. Okay. Tomorrow I'll share more of the ways in our call. We'll share, and that'll be call 3 if you're watching this in the training. But where I'll go more into this of just like kind of the different ways to communicate with your partner. Okay. What I wanted to do tomorrow, we'll also go over like different self-care things to do for each of the cycles in comparison. But the one thing I did want to go over, which I thought would be fun, is not the at-home self-care things you can do, but the external support we can receive through, massage, healing work, and how I would cycle these if I could, if I designed the perfect kind of rhythm for this kind of these self-care activities. If you could only do like one per month. And I think it'll be a fun way to get to know the different weeks. So in terms of receiving external support through massage and other healing modalities, this week of your menstruation, I put down like as what I would suggest, be a foot massage and a facial toward the end of your bleed, not necessarily at the beginning, but a foot massage anytime during it. It's, again, a foot massage is like it's moving the energy in your whole body without having to touch your body. Our bodies are often kind of like, we want to be held, but not necessarily like touched and massaged and handled, in detail. Like that's kind of a hard thing on our moon cycle. We need a big hug, but that's about it. But foot massage is really nice because it's like a non-invasive way to actually massage the whole body and to continue that lymph cycle, the detox process, but in a way that's restorative and relaxing and nourishing and helpful and really supportive for us when we're on our cycles. If you're a partner, it's a great time to receive a foot massage. And then facial, I said toward the end. So it's like if you did 2 self-care activities a week, I would do the foot massage at the beginning of this week and facial toward the end. The reason for the facial is it's kind of like that scraping, the cleansing of every last little bit of kind of debris, removing it from your pores, perhaps doing that little scrapey thing of like the little hairs on the micro blading. I forget, no, not that, but dermaplaning. I love dermaplaning. So it's just kind of like that freshness, and that cleansing, and then you come out of that time and just like you're brand new. Your skin's all brand new and refreshed. So that's what I do for those. That week would be those 2. The next week, which is our building, our first phase of that first week of the building cycle, would be I did chiropractic and then craniosacral. There's something about this week that's all about coming into alignment. Coming into alignment, beginning this next journey on the right path, being intentional about where you're stepping and where you're going, staying aligned on your path. And it's kind of like anything that was not correct gets corrected and you begin again anew. I love craniosacral. I also love chiropractic work. I think it's really powerful. You have to find a chiropractor that you like. I also have done a lot of network chiropractic, which is a more energy form, subtle shifts through energy work on the spine. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but those would be the 2 healing modalities that I would kind of schedule in a perfect, like, if you could do everything, if we could do everything, I would do these every single, like, one a day would be amazing. But in terms, we're just kind of using these to learn the energetics of the week to hopefully give you guys an example. But yeah, those would be, it's all about alignment, kind of just beginning fresh and beginning anew. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Then the week of our ovulation, week 3 or week 2, it just depends on how you see it, but ovulation is, I wrote Swedish massage and acupuncture. I wrote Swedish massage first because this is like before, right around the exact time of ovulation, where we're really fertile. We'll talk about this in our video tomorrow when I go into this week deeper, but it's a time where we're incredibly like vivacious and sensual and sexual and seductive and very self-expressed and confident and outward. And just there's something powerful about the Swedish massage. Oh, that's what I was missing. Yeah, okay. The Swedish massage during this time, because it's different than like a deep tissue, which is like, let's fix this. It's a Swedish massage is just about pleasure and relaxation and enjoyment and beauty and ease and just feeling good. And that very much matches the energy of this week of your ovulation of summer, the week of summer. Okay. And then I did acupuncture. And it's kind of the time if you were literally doing these, like, Swedish massage beginning of that week, acupuncture end of the week would be probably right after you've ovulated. So it's a little bit, you're still perhaps fertile, but it's not, but you haven't moved into that time, or maybe it's right after you stop being fertile, but you haven't really moved in that time where the follicular phase, I believe, when all your nerves get really sensitive, which is not a time to do acupuncture or waxing or anything like that. But because we're literally just, it's uncomfortable because our nerves are way too sensitive for it. But acupuncture would be the next one. And I like that one there because, again, like I said, you could do these all like at any time, of course. But in terms of learning the different weeks and the different cycles and seasons of our 4 quarters, I'm using these as to explain the different weeks. Honestly, acupuncture kind of fits there just because let's say you did get pregnant. It's a nourishing thing. Um, it's a supportive thing. It's it's an aligning thing. It's kind of all of the above. Um, I don't know how to explain it. I put it there for a reason. I don't know exactly why, but maybe I'll come back to it. Okay. And then um, the next external support that I put in is having a sauna. And sorry, messed up my notes. Having a sauna, like going and doing an infrared sauna. This is during probably the beginning part of your PMS week, because for me, the end of my PMS week is just a little bit too intense. That energetically to do a sauna, I'm already really emotionally uncomfortable and often physically uncomfortable, that it's like the sauna would just be irritating. But if you kind of can do the sauna, if you were to do a sauna, like doing it right before that irritability begins to set in a way, it's helping to cleanse stuff um, emotionally and physically before it gets really uncomfortable and really hard. So that would be a really great time to do a sauna to support in that clearing process. That week's all about detox emotionally and physically. So sauna, and then um, energy healing would be the second thing I would do, kind of right before you start your moon. Energy healing is kind of the only thing I can tolerate, and it's a good time to do energy healing because or therapy, because we need support often emotionally to move through whatever's coming up. It can be really intense. Our body's clearing and our spirits are purging things out. So energy healing is really helpful because it's non-invasive, it's non-touch, it's often, it doesn't necessarily, if it's irritating, it's only helping to move that energy up and out. It's assisting in that process, and it will help to complete that cycle. It's not just going to bring up irritation and leave you there. It's a good energy healer will make sure that you're like complete. And so that's something that would be where I would put that, is right before you start your moon. And just to kind of help with that emotional process, that would be what I would do. I did have like deep tissue massage in this. I would do deep tissue probably the week of the PMS week, also toward the beginning, maybe when around you do the sauna, like deep tissue and then a sauna would be perfect because it's kind of like pushing things out. Again, just depends on when you do it. I'm being so specific and like detailed. I'm not meaning to be like, this is the only time you should do these things, because obviously that's not how life works. Again, I'm just using these as like, let's take this self-care practice and apply it to what would be the perfect place to do it in the cycle and why, so that you can kind of learn the cycle that way. I've said that 3 times now, but I just want to say it again. So yeah, that's what I would do, the energy healing right before you start your moon, to help with that emotional purging and cleansing spiritual process. Okay, last couple things I'll say is, like I said at the beginning, cycles are not just monthly, they're weekly, they are seasonal, they are yearly, and we can notice where we're at in our cycle, even if we may be in a winter season. Oh, also I was going to say, this is the winter season. In Suzanne's book, she uses the seasons to describe the weeks, and this is the winter season, so the time of everything goes dormant and inward and quiet, and that's the season of our moon time. It's kind of dark outside, so you just stay inside. So that's kind of, if you want to learn more about the energies, you can study winter, and that's really the energy of this week. Alrighty, I think that's everything I have for the day. Tomorrow we'll go into more, and we're going to be covering our, again, if you're watching all of these in order in the future, then you're going to watch a video of like the next time you watch a video will actually be a video I did in the past, and then the third one will be the one that we're doing today, tomorrow, I'm sorry, and then the fourth one will be one I did in the past as well. Okay, thank you so much for being here, sending so much love, and just closing out this session. Thank you so much, Divine, for your presence, your guidance, your support, and your words. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much.